Hi everyone, it's Christina TnT, your host of TnT Talks, bringing you 20-minute conversations to ignite motivation in life and business through this COVID-19 crisis. And today we have Kyda, who's our awesome guest, and she's going to be telling us about what's going on in her world. Hi, Kyda.
Hi.
So, what do you have going on? Tell us about who you are and what you do.
Okay. So I'm Kyda Dodson. I own a small concierge service, Dodson Adventures. I let your adventure pay for my adventure. Not sure if I'm going to make that an official tagline or not, but usually in a perfect world, I'm pet sitting, running errands, and doing projects for people. It's not a perfect world right now.
No, it's definitely different.
Yeah.
So, what have you been doing? So let's start with things are different right now. What are those challenges that you're facing trying to run a business or be an entrepreneur?
Mm-hmm. Um, Well, so people aren't really thrilled to get into a car with you. So, as far as errands that would involve people, I was actually visiting last night with a Uber driver who was saying, that his last ride was a young kid having a panic attack because he'd been sitting in the car smoking pot with a bunch of his friends who were all coughing. And then this kid realized, wait, they're all coughing. I should get out of here.
That's such
So
a
then
great
he
story.
calls an Uber and gets in the Uber with the guy. And the guy goes, that was my last ride. I wasn't going to pick anybody else up. But, and the same for pet sitting. The things I had on my books for this spring and early summer, people have canceled their vacations. I have one sweet woman who's tried, she's the third time has it booked. She's bound and determined that she's going to get to go in May. And so I hope she does. Um, that's been another challenge. I had projects scheduled to do. I'm not an organizer per se, but I am good with paper and I've gone into some people's houses and try to tame those piles of paper that seem to appear no matter how paperless we intend to go. And so, of course, those were canceled. So, are
So
you here?
What was that?
I said, now my speaker light is on that it says it's not working.
It
So
did cut
you cut
out.
out a little. Am I cutting out?
It did for a moment.
Okay. Well, we'll give it a shot still. Um, so I also work on LinkedIn. So she switched her spring project, and so I've worked through maybe 4 her stack of business cards. I happen to have it right here. So here was her collection from the last years, and so I've worked through about 400 of those. Hardly made a dent, but have increased her connections on LinkedIn by over 50. So she's thrilled. I'm thrilled.
And is that one of the changes that you've done, more moving virtual to help people as like a virtual assistant?
Well, I used to be a virtual assistant, and then I took an office management job and just did not want to be a contractor again. So now I'm back to being an independent contractor. So I am taking some virtual assistant positions or tasks. So that's what I've been focusing on. Right now, we just have to figure out virtual things. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So what are the outcomes of these changes that you've made? Are you still seeing a flow of business and connections that you're making with people, or are you just kind of hunkered down, not able to do much? Or
Well,
what do you got going on?
truthfully, I was scheduled to fly to Florida March 17th. So when I gave that trip up,
That was the day that we got locked down.
Yes. Well, and they had closed Disney World. Not that we had been for sure going to go, but then we were driving up a retreat in Charleston that we all decided we probably should cancel. And then my friend and I had planned to go on to Williamsburg, and they closed that. So I pouted for about 2 weeks.
Understandably.
Sat in my living room, hardly got dressed. I think a lot of us did that, trying to figure out where in the heck is this all going. And my chicks group and my BNI group, I sort of started to pull myself together a little bit. Um, so one of the most beneficial things, and I don't know where I got the idea, was because BNI is an international program. So, and I hold the concierge seat in my local group. So I got on the website and tried to look up every other concierge in the country. And I started sending emails and scheduling Zoom calls and learned so much. They seem to all be thrilled to have somebody reach out. They're Many of them are going to say, I talk to other soulpreneurs. I talked to a woman that has 150 contractors working under her.
Wow.
So just huge differences. But, we shared ideas and talked. We're thinking about doing a group meeting. And I learned something from each one of them. And that was just uh, gave me a lot of ideas to try to go forward with. And, um, so so then they with those ideas, like one day I other things on their list that they can delegate. So I challenged them, and so 2 people in my group just stepped right up and figured out. One's a Mary Kay consultant, so I've been delivering her things all over town for her. Again, they're thinking outside the box. She's doing Zoom makeover parties. So she'll put together kits and either mail them or I'll run around town and deliver them. The other woman, come in and organize my office to that was a great tip for me to try, and I think it was very beneficial. One of the other things I did was to do some Grubhub deliveries just to get a little cash flow going. I thought it would be maybe fun. They're fun, some are not. But I hadn't dropped it yet because my business hadn't taken off yet. And so I am so thankful I've had that out. It's been considered an essential service. And there were weeks I just do usually 2 hours at a time. The weeks I did all 7 days, and just to get out of the house, drive around, have enough conversation at a restaurant, waving from the sidewalk to the person I just delivered dinner to and saying, enjoy, really made a difference. The days I don't do that, I have to be really careful that I'll get super bored by evening and then, just want to sink back into that, jammy, bad TV thing. So that was a really good move for me. Not everybody has that option, but that was good for me.
Those are really good options for those who have it, finding, because there are a lot of people who they're just at a standstill. They cannot continue their business with what they
Right.
were continuing. They can do CE credits and
Mm-hmm.
education and maybe things like that, but some people are just at a complete standstill.
Right.
Um, but pivoting and finding something as an alternative is a really great option. I've heard that from a couple people. What are some other recommendations that you suggest for our audience on how to keep motivated or come up with new ideas and what they could possibly do?
Well, again, for me, that reaching out and talking, complete strangers all over the country and even Canada. Um, I'm afraid to talk to people, so it wasn't nerve-wracking to me. And some of the calls probably lasted 15 minutes and others pushed an hour. It just depended on how chatty we are, probably how bored they were too. um, but they all seemed thrilled. Even the woman with the 150 contractors seemed very happy to talk to somebody language. And the other people, especially like my chicks friends and a couple of other friends groups I have, yeah, chicks, because that's what chicks do.
Yeah.
um, they're finding ways. They're sewing masks and donating them. They're continuing to crochet baby blankets for the hospital. Volunteerism is always something that makes you feel better.
Mm-hmm.
And it's very important. And again, the Zoom calls, I have a group of women friends, we call ourselves the cows, the Council of Wonderful Women, or you could substitute different W's. Um,
Love it.
and we've been friends, most of us, for close to 30 years. It started as a work group and we've continued, and there's been friends and people that, anyway, so we meet maybe, have lunch or go to somebody's house for an event. We've started doing Monday evening calls. And so I've seen these friends more now than I ever would have. So, that's really a blessing. Um, and then I have been doing walk and talks with people who are comfortable. We do our best to stay 6 feet apart, gets us out of the house, gets a little exercise going, and that's been really good for me. And everybody that I've done them with has said they've really liked it too. So again, that just has to depend on you and where you're located, and looks like things might be loosening up now. So we'll just have to see how that all goes. I don't know. People are sure talking about, meeting in parks. You'll see people pulled into the parking lots at big stores, sitting in their lawn chairs. I actually drove by a friend's house the other night. I was making a delivery and it was my last one of the evening. And I called her and said, "Hey, do you want to have a conversation?" So she brought a couple of folding chairs out and we sat in the driveway for a while. And that was very nice too. So,
Yeah. Yeah, we're definitely starting to see a little bit more opening and softening up. I know that one thing that I've done, and I don't know if you do this, is through this is I've been journaling a lot about the experience because we are living through a historical moment. And to look back and think, I know a lot of people who want to write a book, and this would make a really great opportunity
yeah.
to write about. I mean, everybody's different perspectives and knowing what's happening and in their world or their industry, being in real estate, we've been affected, but not as much as people think.
I was going to say, the couple of other realtors in my life are busier than they've ever been, pretty much, and which is surprising. I heard stories through the years about the Spanish flu in 1918. that my grandparents were young adults. They married in 18 or 1919. I can't remember what I said before was when they married. Um, my grandfather was in World War I, so he was part of those troops that spread the germs all over the world. Um, he did not get sick, but but my grandmother was stuck in the middle of Iowa on a farm. They didn't have to social distance because they just dissed life. I mean, they had their hired hands and things. And I don't remember, any talk about them. But the little bit I've read and stuff, they did see that large cities that canceled their large events had lower rates of illness and death than the cities that proceeded with some of the large events. So, you just don't think about that, at least for me, that in my life that lived through that crisis. But, now you're seeing some pictures. I just saw one today that, if, at least it was portrayed to be a family all wearing masks. Whether it was or not, I don't, but that it was just it was a different world, and yet they did do some of this.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So I would love to know, what is a good book or podcast that you have been utilizing, if you read or anything like that, or an article on, not everybody reads, but.
Well, I do. It was hard at first. That's the two things. I'm also a crafter, and I have not had the patience to sit and create anything, which I always know means I'm in a little bit of trouble. And reading was a challenge, but I've been doing some audiobooks and watching a lot of TV. I have watched every pandemic and end of the world movie on 3 platforms.
No, don't do it.
But I always watch those kind of movies.
Okay.
So,
just scaring yourself.
Huh?
You're not just sitting there scaring yourself.
No. And right now then I found a good download, so I'm reading a post-apocalyptic nuclear bomb book right now. But that's just kind of what I do. So
it's interesting to watch some of those and compare it to what we're actually going through, because there was a documentary released called Pandemic on Netflix in January of this year that was dead on, like, this is going to happen, and poof, it happened. Like, be careful what you put in the world.
There's some other movies out, and I can't remember platforms, but I had never seen And the Band Played, which was a movie, but made kind of like a documentary about AIDS and the beginning of the diagnosis of AIDS in the country. And it was fascinating to watch it now, 35 years later. And I remember I was visiting friends in Portland, and the Oregonian had this huge multiple article spread, about AIDS. We'd never heard of it before. And so that was interesting. And there's an old 1980 movie with Chuck Connors that's called Virus, that, considering its age and stuff. So it's been kind of, and I thought I had seen every sci-fi apocalyptic movie ever made. Somehow I missed that one, but so yeah, that's been kind of fun to hear people's recommendations, and then doing some just general, being part of BNI. We should do listen to a podcast at least every week, and most of those have been targeted, trying to build business. Chicks has just been phenomenal about offering social opportunity, get together. I made a comment one day about that I missed the most going out to a restaurant and sitting down with people, and Jules Mueller, who's head of Chicks, actually scheduled a Friday night fancy dress up dinner. She didn't ask me if I could come.
I was there. It was fun.
It was really fun. So I got through with my Grubhub as soon as I could and logged in driving home, and they kept talking for about an hour. I actually joined, and it was fabulous.
Yeah.
So there's just, so many creative and clever things you can do. Um, like searching for a Kleenex. This is gonna drip. Oh, come on. There's one.
Well, Kyda, I'm sure that some of our audience is going to want to be able to connect with you and talk to you more about what you've been going through. Where can they find you on social media or a website?
I'm most easily reachable on probably Facebook. I have a page, Dodson Adventures, and my first name is Kyda, Kyda. If you Google that, you're going to find me. There are a few others, but not very many. I would love to connect with people on LinkedIn, and I would like to offer listeners today, if they did a free LinkedIn profile review, if they contact me and mention that they watched our YouTube video, that would be fun to do. And then I offer all kinds of different packages to help people build their LinkedIn account. And then, of course, my email, my first and last name at gmail.com. So.
Great. And I'll make sure to get all those links and put them in the notes so that people can click through and access them easy. I've had a lot of fun today, Kyda. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing your journey with us.
Yeah. And I hope that some of the tips resonate with people. So we just all have to figure out how to get through this, and then we'll see what's on the other side. That's going to be interesting.
Yeah, the important part is to just don't get stagnant. I think a lot of people right now are just hunkering down, and that's the worst thing that we can do is just not do anything.
So. Right. Yeah, and I definitely feel if I allow myself, too many days of wallowing in it, it's the danger of not getting out, not coming up for air, and I just can't do that to myself.
And it's vital that everybody knows that we're all going through this. It's, even though some of us are still pushing through it, I've had many anxiety attacks, and some weeks I have to take a few days and shut down and hide from the world and then get back to it and just remember to get back up, because I mean, between the school and work and home life and all of it, it's overwhelming, and we just got to stick together.
It is amazing what you can and it's amazing what you can order from Amazon.
Yeah,
really is.
Yes. Awesome. Well, Kyda, again, thank you so much. And everybody, please subscribe and click the notification bell so that you can get notified when our next interview comes up later this week. Bye, everyone.
Bye.